Hello, everyone. I am the Reverend Godfather, the main host and frontman for the Long Coat Mafia podcast. And to find that podcast, you could follow the links down below in the description. If you like the rants and the vlogs that we've been doing lately, please hit that subscribe button, which is somewhere up in the corner. With that out of the way, if I sound a little bit more down than usual, instead of my kind of uh, more enthusiastic self, it's the fact that unless you were living under a rock and have not found out already, today is a sad day for a lot of us comic geeks and hobbyists and artists out there. The legend himself, Stan Lee, has passed away at 95 years old. And this is one of the celebrity deaths that has kind of hit me very hard. And it's because that for those of you who, again, living on the rock, never seen a Marvel movie, never picked up a Marvel comic, Stan Lee, many, 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 many years ago, back in the early to mid 1900s, or I should say 1900s, like the 19 from about I want to say the 1930s on. He helped create a lot of the Marvel characters that we know, love, and enjoy. He's the one that created the foundation for the X-Men, Iron Man, which you kind of see behind me, Spider-Man, the Hulk. Granted, many other artists out there have created other characters, but he's the one that laid the foundation for a good many characters, ranging from, again, Iron Man, Daredevil, Spider-Man, the X-Men, which is on this side here. But he inspired a lot of art. I want to say, because he was mostly a writer in the early days of Marvel, he inspired a lot of people. He inspired a lot of kids in a way. It's like, how do you inspire a child? The reason why I say he inspired a lot of children is that without comics, especially comics during the time that when I grew up, kind of helped us learn to read. And in many cases, a comic can help a child learn to read. Now, with the widespread of many Marvel movies, including Thor, Spider-Man, X-Men, and so forth and so on, but back in the early 80s to mid 80s, you had the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. You had clips of Spider-Man live, kind of a very poorly done Spider-Man live action type of ordeal on PBS. But with that, when you hear Spider-Man, and you see the character, and you're growing up with, and you have a Spider-Man comic book in your hand, it's the aspect of hearing Spider-Man and seeing the word on the cover, the words inside the comic, and associated with that particular character or the Hulk. You see those, those words. You understand how it sounds and what it's supposed to sound like. And as you're learning to read in reference to how certain words look and sound, it kind of helps the brain learn that way. So, did Stan Lee teach many people, many children learn to read? No, but him and Marvel might have had a hand in many, many children learning to read as children over the many decades he's been alive, and the few decades that he's been a part of. Even though he's been associated with Marvel over the past 20 some odd years, but when he was actually attached and editor in chief at Marvel in its initial heyday. But he did he inspire artists? I'm sure there have been many artists that wanted to get into comics partly because of Stan Lee. I can't speak for every artist, but even though some artists kind of get their inspiration and learn to draw by other artists, I've known, some, get inspired by Billy Tichy and maybe, a Mark McKenna or an artist like that, or Ken Hunt, and they learn a technique and they learn how to draw that way. But maybe some down the line, if it wasn't for like a Jack Kirby and a Stan Lee, there wouldn't be these characters. There wouldn't be, if it wasn't for these two people creating these characters and finally getting them on paper, you wouldn't have a lot of the artists that are in the industry today. But the reason why this is a hard day, is he a legend? Yes, he is, because he has survived this long. He's a part of our collective consciousness right now. From what I've heard, have I met him in the past? No, I haven't. I wish I've had. I wish I had a chance to be in the same room and be, kind of soak in the legend a little bit that is Stan Lee, and kind of go, oh my God, that's Stan Lee, and shout out over a crowd, hey, Mr. Lee, Mr. Stan Lee. Just that the few times that he has come to either Awesome Con or Baltimore Comic Con, I was not able to go to those events for one reason or another. Either not really having the funds to do so or a way to get there, sadly. But from what I've heard from many of those who have met him, he was a professional. He was a very wonderful man to meet. Even though in recent years, or I should say recent months, there has been a good many controversy coming out from the Stan Lee camp, whether it has been elder abuse or maybe lies and theft in regards to his estate and how he was treated. But I do not wish to spoil his memory and what his legacy that he has left millions of people, or I should say the world at large. And even, yes, that's a very large claim in regards to that, because Marvel right now, or I should say Disney, owns the rights to Disney owns the rights to Marvel. Marvel owns the rights to the characters encompassing their lineup and their universe, but he is the legend behind all that. Again, he's the one that kind of got the ball rolling. We here at the show, even though I can't really speak for Big Candy, but I'm sure he'd agree with the fact that the show's condolences go out to his friends and family, that he's a legend, that he should rest in peace, that the haters out there that want to dive into, saying who he is, what he is, and kind of doing all that, they're wrong. I've seen posts today kind of taking jabs at Mr. Lee, and many people, many people coming to his aid in a way to prove these haters wrong. Uh, and I won't go into it because a man like Stan Lee should rest in peace. And what should be celebrated is his legacy and what he left behind. And what he left behind is a lot of characters that made a lot of people happy. Um, whether it's the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Iron Man, the X-Men, in reference to, you know, what they might have taught us, you know, in reference to, if I remember correctly, the X-Men was basically created to help with diversity and everybody kind of getting along and wanting to get along. Um, when you have these characters that are celebrated by a good many people, like how Daredevil was celebrated being the first, in essence, blind superhero. And you can't, with these tales, were they moral tales? I'm sure there were a good many moral tales weaved into the universe, or the many storylines that were out there. Um, have I gotten my fair share of Stan Lee authentic collectibles? Yes, I do. I do have a Stan Lee box that I managed to get one. I think it was like last year. The unboxing video should be here in on our YouTube channel. But I digress. Are my Stan Lee collectibles legit outside the Stan Lee box? The one I have, I know for sure is legit, and that is back in the kind of, I don't want to say the early days of MySpace, but kind of the later days of MySpace. Stan Lee and his organization during that time, I want to say 2005, maybe 2006, give or take a year or two. I want to say in around, I don't, yeah, it was maybe 2005, 2006, or in around 2008. Let me put it like that, between 2005 and 2008. He did a kind of a charity. Someone approached him to help raise funds for a charity, and he said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I have plenty of stuff that I could have the raise even more money to help you along. And the charity, the money went for charity. And what was being sold, and he said, listen, I got a whole mess of posters sitting here at the offices. And he said, I'll make you guys and gals an offer. Because this person approached me for this. So all the funds raised will go to this fundraiser, all of which will be tax deductible. He said, but here's the offer I'm going to make all of you. I have a good number of posters, which I'll be more than happy to sell to each of you for $50 a piece. Meaning, if you want 2, it's going to be $100. If you want 3, it's going to be $150, etc., etc., etc. He said, but I'll make you a special deal. If you want 1 poster, it's $50. If you want 2 posters, it'll be $100. But if you want 1 poster signed, that poster will be $100. So I chose. At that time I looked at what I had, and I said, wait a minute, I got $100, and this is going for a good cause. You know what? Why not? I'll do it. So I sent in my $100. I was given a list of posters from. It's kind of hard to say if Stan Lee gave the list himself, or if it was somebody that was helping him out. But I was given a list uh, of the options of posters to choose from, and I think there was like X-Men, there was the Incredible Hulk, maybe a Fantastic Four, I think there was I forgot what else there was, um, but there was a few. There was a list of maybe about 5 or 6, and so the I chose the Incredible Hulk, the movie starring Ed Norton, because I like how it looked. It reminded me of it reminded me of the classic TV show, The Incredible Hulk, and a reference to how it was. And I, in essence, got it signed. I have it sitting here at the house. Uh, it, I hopefully one of these days it'll be on this wall right here to take the place of this poster. But I digress. For now, I'll keep these 2 little things hanging up behind me for a while. At least hanging on the wall for a while before they go up, get changed out with something else. But he was a legend. He will be missed by not just me, but hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of fans who grew up reading his little editorial notes from the back of old school comic books and so forth and so on. Right now I've been rambling enough, so I'm going to go. Again, you could find the Long Coat Mafia podcast by following the links down below. And again, to Stan Lee's family and friends, my condolences and the show's condolences go out to each and every one of you. I wish I could get better close-ups of the posters, but I'm not going to really do that because it'll be, even though you can kind of see Iron Man here and kind of the X-Men over here, it's not really I won't say good taste. It's not really worthy to kind of show off my work. It's or the hobby pieces that I own because of this passing. I just want to give a little bit of a rant and my thoughts, in a way, a memory, and a thank you to Mr. Stan Lee, because he was in a way, part of our life. He gave everybody something, whether a belief in a superhero, a way to learn to read, something. He gave. I think he really did try to put a smile on somebody's face, and he was looked up to by many. So, again, thank you, Stan Lee. You will be remembered. You are a legend. And to all of you out there, stay tuned to the links below for our next episode of our podcast. And to kind of end this with the infamous words from Stan Lee himself. Excelsior. Good night, everybody.